Testingly. Test, who wants to be free? 8 o'clock. Wait a minute, who left the mic on?
You're listening to Late Night Radio on the SHR Media Network. Caution, there will be mature themes explored and potentially adult language used. If conservatarian words, phrases, certain concepts, or rhetoric offends you, tune out now.
I have come here to chew bubblegum and kick ass. And I'm all out of bubblegum.
Freedom is never more than one generation away from extinction. We didn't pass it on to our children in the bloodstream. The only way they can inherit the freedom we have known is if we fight for it, protect it, defend it, and then hand it to them with the well-taught lessons of how they in their lifetime must do the same. And if you and I don't do this, then you and I may well spend our sunset years telling our children and our children's children what it once was like in America when men were free.
Got the truth in my pack. Leftist lies and globalists, I'm pushing them back. From the saloon to the airwaves, I'm spitting it raw. Constitution's my compass, liberty's law. Big guns creeping, shadows on the land. Feds with the schemes trying to bind up my hands. But I'm the Sherpa, guiding through the storm. Red, white, and blue, yeah, freedom's reborn. They spin their tails, but I see through the haze. Media maggots, lost in the maze. I'm calling it out, no fear in my soul. This patriot's fire ain't losing control. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Leftist judges twisted, trying to steal our rights, but I'm locked and loaded, got them in my sights. From J6 to the border, they're selling us out. I'm screaming from the mountain, hear my rebel shout. They mock the flag, but I'm holding it high. Stars and stripes forever under God's open sky. No globalist chains gonna cage this land. I'm the Sherpa with the truth in my hand. They push their agenda, but I'm breaking the mold. Their promises empty, their hearts ice cold. Chicago's bleeding, borders torn apart. I'm fighting for the people with the warrior's heart. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight. Torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas rising. Storms, I've walked the line, 41 years, badge on the grind, now I'm on the air, my voice like a blade, cutting through the lies that the traitors made. Hurricanes rage, but we're standing tall, sheriffs of the Constitution answering the call. From the saloon to the heart of the fray, we're taking back America, no more delay. Conservative Sherpa leading the fight, torch in the dark, burning bright in the night. Stand for the truth, won't bow to the game. Sherpas, come and remember my name. Sherpas static, hear my voice resound. Conservative Sherpa, freedom's battleground. Berserk, Bobcat, rules will never kneel. For God and country, this fight is real.
So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, where I am broadcasting from an actual free state in North Idaho. It's a wonderful place to be. I am Dis Dude. I be your conservative Sherpa. What you see on there on the bottoms is. And what that means is I'm guiding you through the insidious maelstrom of Democrat, leftist, and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, tyranny, and betrayal. Nothing more and nothing less. So thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for donating your very generous time. I greatly appreciate it because, there's so many other things you could be doing right now. I want to tell you what you're about to hear consists of my opinion and nobody else's, because I don't have any guests for tonight, because who would be stupid enough to be a guest tonight on the Christmas Eve before Christmas Day? So Christmas Eve of Christmas Eve prior to Christmas Day. What am I doing here? I'm fundamentally doing the thing that the American media maggots won't. I am changing America one leftist diaper at a time. We do not water our drinks, just like we don't water our conversations. We are still serving stiff drinks here in the saloon, along with facts, history, logic, rationality, proportion, clarity, context, tradition, and common sense kind of stuff. And we talk about politics, religion, crime, culture, race, sex, economics, science, law, everything under the sun is subject to be spoke ofs right here in the saloon, where the speech is free, but the booze, she is not. I'm streaming live on a whole host of places right now. Kind of looks like this. Not live on Spreaker. That's audio only, and that's only later in podcast. Facebook Live, Twitch, right there on shrmedia.com, Rumble, and the SHR Media YouTube channel, and KLRN. However, for those of you who are interested, I am not carried live right now on KLRN. Can you repeat the calendar data? Certainly. Phantom is in chat. O2AMT is in chat. Mission Ready Men is in chat. Ronald Reagan is in chat. Clint Eastwood is in chat. And the ghost of George Patton is in chat. And I want to tell everybody, I am so happy that everybody is here tonight. Con gusto, mayor, con gusto. So, thanks for being here. Let's go down here a little bit. I guess I should start with this. It's an interesting show. This is my Merry Christmas show. But tonight I wrote Merry Christmas, Merry Christmas. And we're all probably kind of wondering the same thing. And by the way, I am going to embarrass Earl later on if he is still here, because I told Earl, I warned Earl that I would be stealing his stuff from this morning. So not only am I not stealing Earl's lines, no, I'm going to let Earl speak for himself, because what Earl said this morning was very interesting. I wish that I could tell you that I, this year, was in an absolutely superior Christmassy kind of mood, but I'm not really. For the past 2 to 3 months, we've been trying to keep our elder dog, Jake, alive at the age of 11. In our years, he's about 90. Now, I want to show you a contrast. My law professor, Elton Long, said numerous years ago in the 70s, said, contrast and compare on your blue books. Nobody knows what the hell a blue book is today anyway. Anyway, Jake is... he's been on our special hospice care, and he's in the midst of what has become, I can't think of any other phrase for it other than the long goodbye, wherein he has bad days and he has good days. And with his good days, frankly, his good days continue to surprise the hell out of it. Now, that's him about 1.5 years ago. And he's a fat little pudge right there. Without his coat today, This is what Jake looks like. Now, this is Jake at about 25 pounds. And this is Jake today at about 12 pounds. We hope that he can last until after the new year, and we'll fight for him because he's still fighting for himself. And numerous times a day, he goes out the dog door. He does his duty outside and he comes back in. He doesn't have the strength to push the dog door. So we have replaced the dog door with a dish towel. And even that dish towel, which hangs down about maybe 3/4 of it, there's a big triangle on the bottom that's open. So if he wants, well, this is not what he wants, this is what he does. He'll push his noseless through, he will check it's raining outside and starting to sleet. And he'll push his nose through, look around, and then see if it appears to be okay. He'll actually hop outside. We have 2 levels. The first one is about 6 inches or 7 inches below the floor of the house itself. And then he's got another step to take, and then he'll go outside, do what needs to be done, and then he'll come back in. And when he comes back in, he'll put his nose through the dish towel on that little area that's open, and he'll put one paw, then a second paw in, because he got up to the first step. Now he has to get through the second step, through the dogulous door. And then when he feels he has enough of his body through the dog door, then he'll kind of pop into the rest of the house. And looking like this, he's still doing that, folks. He's still doing it. And the den, which is where the dog door is, has been pretty cold for the past few months because it's been down to about 20 about a week ago, and we don't close that door. We leave the dog door open for him 24/7 so that he can go in and go out. And we kind of think that's the least that we can do for Jake. And this is him earlier today, just before the show. And I've put photos up before. Oh, Jeremy Hansen is in chat. Good to see you here, Jeremy. And about an hour ago, before I started the show, this is him. And then, of course, he had to get up, and then he had to go outside. And he's still doing that regularly. He's on an IV every other day now. He'll occasionally eat. He'll occasionally drink some water. We have to give him a syringe basically every hour. Sometimes in the past week, he's eaten maybe some chicken. It's got to be Jesus. Okay. It's got to be Costco chicken. He won't eat any other chicken. It's got to be warmed up. There has to be a little broth poured over it, a little chicken broth, or he'll deign to lower himself to have a couple of pieces of steak. So those are the days that he amazes us, because customarily he's still not eating. Mostly he's like I said, he has good days and bad days, and we can see that he's still fighting. So we will still be fighting for him. And it's been hard on all of us, particularly Mrs. BZ. She was a vet tech in her earlier life, in her salad days. So she knows how to administer all the IVs and the water and the food via the big syringes that I was telling everybody about. They have no needles, but they're big. And that keeps Jake going. He has to have water roughly every hour. So we've been doing that roughly every hour for the past 2 to 3 months. And there hasn't really been much time to think about Thanksgiving or Christmas or going out or any of that stuff. I've told you before, we've never had kids. Me in my earlier life and Mrs. BZ and hers. So these doggers, we have 4 now. including Jake. They're our kids. I mean, if I came back as a dog, I'd want to come back in this damn household, as a matter of fact. So for the holidays, we've pretty much been distracted. But we figure it's the least that we can do for our kids. At this time, though, it should theoretically be all about the Savior, and at a time when we should be observing and honoring the birth of our Savior. So many events are simultaneously trying to ruin, destroy, and undermine not only our nation from within and without, but the rest of the world as well. I have a love of God in Christ. I appreciate that I was somehow born into this time and nation. I give thanks to God, to those who watch my show, to those who, like I said, give up their very personal and intimate and valuable time to be here, my friends, and of course, Mrs. BZ. It's a conundrum. It's a contradiction, and it never stops. Overarching that, especially this week, we need to honor the birth of our Savior, but simultaneously, we seem to be in a war that never ends. And I have some examples of that for you tonight. I'm going to start with some happy stories. Just because of the nature of the week and in terms of programming notes, this is going to be my only show this week. I'll return next Tuesday night, same bat time, same bat channel. And then I'll be following with the kinds of things that you need to know, you should know, before we all try to readjust ourselves to the season. And that's the conundrum. That's the contradiction. I mean, doesn't it seem to you that there's just a ton of incongruence and a lot of dissonance this season, even more than normal? I'm going to explain to you how that occurs. I'm going to tell you why. And though it appears that we're fighting back, we're actually beginning to win on some fronts, but it still seems like there's this strange clash, not so strange really, between two aligned fronts, or unaligned fronts, I should say. And in our minds, somehow we have to reconcile the conflicts that we see. At the same time, we're kind of trying to reformulate our brains in terms of being appreciative for our lives in order to understand and honor the blessings that we've been given in our own lives. We owe that to the Lord and Savior and to the Father and the Son all around us. And I'll go over a bit of it in the show tonight, though, of course, as per normal, I won't be able to get but to a fraction of this stuff because that's how I roll. But all around us, there's bedlam, like chaos, betrayal. And we owe that to our Lord and Savior to make sure that we make a fight of it and that we don't refuse to ignore all of that. Jack Alexander is in chat. I see Jack. Thank you. We're attacked from within. We're attacked from without. By Democrats, by leftists, by globalists on all sides in their attempt to undermine ourselves and the nation, replace the bulk of actual Americans in concert with the barbaric death cult called Islam. It's not a religion. It's an entire societal way of life. People who say it's a religion, they're wrong, plain and simple. I may or may not, if I recall, make a reference to Tucker Carlson. I think I'll let Earl Jackson do that a little bit later on. In my opinion, there really isn't today a dime's worth of difference between Islam and Democrats. Let's see. How do we count the ways? They both love death. They both love terrorists. They both hate Jews. They both despise the United States of America. And they're both actively working against her, against us, with every fiber of their being. Now, like I said, I listened to Earl Jackson this morning on his Mission Ready Men show. He's on the same days as me, Tuesday and Thursday, except he's a morning dude because he actually has a job and he has to go to work. He's on at 9 a.m. Pacific and noonish Eastern. Got a great show. And as I was listening to it, and I was in his chat room, and he said some things, and I told him almost literally, dude, I'm going to steal your lines, okay? And I'm a man of my words. I'm going to steal his lines. He was addressing Islam. And basically, he said some
just as violent,
very specific things.
Not even close. There are violent passages in the Bible. Yes, there are violent stories. Yes. But there's also redemption. The Quran offers no such thing. Now, obviously, there was that juxtaposition between Tucker Carlson and Tulsi Gabbard, and there was some other fireworks. Ben Shapiro went off, and Steve Bannon went off, and a few other people had some words for each other that, like I said, I'll get into later. But for me, the real fault line, I guess you would say, is what happened, is the contrast between Tucker and Tulsi. Because he seems to think that criticizing Islam, that being wary of Islam, understanding the threat that Islam poses, he thinks that is the danger. He doesn't think Islam actually poses a threat, I guess.
See, I love Earl. He's a much better man than I. But he couches his points in such a way that it's easily palatable to understand. And he also restrains himself in a fashion that is truly admirable, in such a way that I don't possess that ability, which is why on any number of fronts, he's just a better dude than I am. But keep listening, because he's going to say a sentence, maybe two sentences, that in chat I said, whoa, you got to say those again. He wasn't sure to what reference I made. But listen to what he says, because he comes out with a bit of brilliance here that I wish everyone was able to hear and understand his true knowledge about what's going on right in front of our eyes. Earl.
And he wants to prioritize internal cohesion in the movement. And there's something to be said for that. But before that can happen, there has to be an agreement. And people like him are never going to agree with people like me who understand and are willing to say that Islam is a threat.
Like myself, make no mistake, Islam is a threat.
And so there really can't be any internal cohesion when you have that wide a gulf. Other policy debates are fine, other taxes and whatever else you want to come up with. But when it comes to Islam and when it comes to the trans ideology, there really can't be any reconciliation, any cohesion, if you think that it's okay to mutilate kids and give them poison, basically, in the form of puberty blockers and all that other stuff and hormone replacement.
So as I said before, okay, what's the midpoint of all of that? What's the bipartisanship that can be reached? What's the compromise that can be reached on any of that? And there is no bipartisanship, and there will never be any compromise from now in the future, because there is no middle ground of that. It's their way or the highway.
If you think that's okay, then I can't have any sort of cohesion with you. If you think that Islam is fine and we just need to talk to them, I can't have any sort of coalition with you at all.
How's that going for the rest of the world and for us?
It's just that plain and simple. And I am okay with that.
Me too.
Tucker Carlson had his rebuke of his critics, but Tulsi Gabbard warned the country. And when it comes to deciding which one of those is right, obviously Tulsi nailed it.
How many times have we seen government officials speak the truth in front of everyone about Islam? Almost never.
And Tucker is just, I don't know, trying to preserve his income stream, I guess.
Carlson is done. He's gone. He's not listenable anymore. I've drawn the line. I believe Earl has drawn the line. I believe everybody else around here should draw the line. There can be no bipartisanship or compromise with a barbaric death cult.
Civilizations don't collapse.
This is the part right here that you need to listen to.
Obviously, Tulsi nailed it. And Tucker is just, I don't know, trying to preserve his income stream, I guess.
Here we go.
Civilizations don't collapse because they're too vigilant. They collapse because they confuse caution with wisdom. And wisdom is understanding that Islam is an existential threat and must be treated as such.
Earl knocked it out of the park. I don't think I've heard anybody quantify the truth about Islam in maybe 2 sentences like he did on his show this morning. And to me, it resonated so much with me about that. I got to repeat that. He said, civilizations don't collapse because they're too vigilant. They collapse because they confuse caution with wisdom, and wisdom is understanding that Islam is an existential threat and must be treated as such. I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. But that's the way it is. That's the truth. And when you have people as insightful as Earl, and SHR is ever so lucky to have him, I hope that that's why you listen to SHR. Now, again, this is a Christmas show, but it's a conflict within me. And that's why, oh, geez, I forgot to say, yes, you need to be, folks, by the way, in our plush, sumptuous, and palatial and resplendent chat room. This is our last Christmas chat room. Again, I hope you'll love being there. Look at that nice warm fire. This is where you want to be. And also, I want to remind everybody that, yes, we have 700 subscribers now. It's glorious. It's wonderful. And thanks to everyone who has subscribed. And while you're doing that, I also want to remind everybody that if you're on YouTube, and that's the best place to watch the show in the chat room, is the SHR Media YouTube chat room. While you're there, click on the bell, and that means that when any one of our shows come up, that you'll be notified of that. And make sure you do that in each one of the shows that we have. Mine, Mission Ready Men, Earl's show, Edge of Liberty, Sean Lewis's show, Jersey Joe with the Ever of Common Sense. And you'll be notified of all those great shows. And as I continue, I want to make sure that I tell everybody I do have some good things coming up. In fact, I have this coming up directly right now.
It's time for happy stories and good times.
And you'll be so sad to understand and hear that, okay, there will be happy stories, there will be good times, but right after this.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
In a world where leftists are running out of metal for the safety pins of their soothing red diapers, one man stands alone, attempting to fundamentally change America, one leftist diaper at a time. BZ, your conservative Sherpa, is guiding you through the maelstrom of Democrat leftists and globalist lies, chaos, deceit, and betrayal. Listen to BZ Saloon on select and exclusive Tuesday and Thursday nights at 8 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Central, and 11 p.m. Eastern on the SHR Media YouTube channel, Twitch, KLRN, Rumble, and X at BZ Saloon. It's one great late-night conservatarian talk radio show. Be there. Aloha.
Hello, friends. You have a moment so that we may discuss our Lord and Savior Monarchy? No, seriously, I'm just kidding. Hi, my name's Rick Robinson. I am the general manager of KLRNradio.com. We are probably the largest independent podcast network that you've never heard of. We have a little bit of everything, and by that, what I mean to tell you is we have news, pop culture, special events, conspiratainment, true crime, mental health shows, drama productions, and pretty much everything in between. So if you're looking for a new podcast home to grab a little bit of everything that you love all in one place, come check us out. You can find us on X under @KLRNradio. You can find us on our Rumble and our YouTube channels under the same names. You can also find us at KLRNradio.com and pretty much every podcast catcher known to man. So again, feel free to come check us out anytime you like at KLRN Radio.
It's Sean from the Edge of Liberty. Just like the Bidens, I too am moving. Only in my case, it's days and times. That's right, you can now find the Edge of Liberty Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, and Wednesday at 8 p.m. Pacific on 11 Eastern on the SHR Media Network. Join me as we talk politics, news, alcohol, fun, not so much fun, clowns, small kittens, large kittens, dogs, amoebas, and anything else that just pops into my mind while I'm on the air. That is Monday and Wednesday, 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 on the East Coast, on YouTube, X, KLRN Radio, Facebook, Twitch, and anywhere else a good podcast is found. Please check out our website, shrmedia.com. I will see you live on the air.
Attention, all patriotic women of faith. Yep, I'm talking to you, sis. Are you looking for high quality, super soft apparel that reflects your love for country and your devotion to God? Look no further than Carry Girl Gear. Picture this. You rocking a tee so soft it's like being hugged by a cloud, all while showing off your love for God and country. Sounds dreamy, right? Well, welcome to reality, babes, because that's what we're all about here at Carry Girl Gear. We specialize in super soft tees, tanks, and more, designed specifically for the strong, patriotic woman who proudly wants to carry their message of faith and freedom. When you shop with us, you're not just getting a t-shirt. You're joining a community of like-minded women who are proud to wear their beliefs straight on their tees. So whether you're sipping sweet tea on the porch or leading the charge for faith and freedom, do it in a Carry Girl tee. Because life's too short for stiff, boring tees. CarryGirl.com, where faith and freedom meets fashion.
Independence. With that declaration, America was born. Inspired by a belief in the God-given rights of every human being, and in the good that comes from exercising these rights well. The founders of our great nation chose independence. As do we. Hillsdale College accepts no government funding because independence makes possible the good to which we aspire.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I'm BZ. Thanks for being here tonight. It is my Christmas show. It's Tuesday, December the 23rd, the year of our Lord 2025. Thanks for taking the time to be here or listening tomorrow, Wednesday, in the Re-Sizzle from KLRN. I appreciate everybody that's been here this year, and the people that will come here next year. Perhaps some new folks, perhaps some new subscribers. If you would share the show as many places as you possibly can. Now, before the break, I said, yes, we're going to have some happy stories. And yes, as a matter of fact, we are going to have some happy stories. Here's a happy story. Here's the way to start out. I think this is wonderful. Folks, have you ever heard of Letters of Marque? Perhaps you should. Perhaps you will. Mike Lee, a Republican from Utah, has introduced legislation that would essentially allow private entities with basically letters of marque to stop drug cartel smuggling and violence. The Cartel, Marque, and Reprisal Reauthorization Act authorizes President Trump, as provided under the Constitution, to commission American operators under letters of marque to seize cartel property and persons on land or sea. Another cool dude, I really admire this guy, Representative Tim Burchett of Tennessee, introduced the House version of this legislation. Now, historically speaking, go ahead and look up letters of marque. You know, it's what's old becomes new again. And then let's stop here. There was a press conference that Donald Trump was talking about. And let's turn on the sound and let's take it away.
I think I'd just like to point out that these ships are made of steel as opposed to aluminum. It's a big difference, as you know. Battleships, the great battleships, had 6 and 7 inch steel hulls, and these are going to be likewise made out of very powerful steel.
Stop here just for a second. Let's go back in history. Anybody remember the Falklands War in the early 80s? I sure do. That's when the British went and steamed all the way down to the Malvinas, what they called the Malvinas Islands. And, maybe I've gotten that confused, but it's the Falklands War. And Argentina had decided that they were going to overtake British property. The Falklands belonged to the British. So the Brits steamed all the way down there. One of the ships was the HMS Sheffield, whose superstructure was constructed of what they would call aluminium, and an Exocet missile. Took one Exocet missile took out and sank the HMS Sheffield. That's okay, because we sank the British, when they were strong and not cowards, sank the Belgrano. So it's kind of tit for tat. So if you're thinking, no, we never made ships out of aluminium, we didn't predominantly. The UK sure did, and they learned a lesson with the Sheffield.
Our steel industry is coming back very strongly, by the way. It's coming back at record numbers. And we're going to be using them for the steel, but as opposed to an aluminum side, which in all fairness is not the same. So, John, we're going with all steel, I understand. And it's going to be something that people are surprised, more expensive, but not even comparable in terms of the importance and the strength.
At one time, you may or may not know, we had essentially a 500 ship blue water navy. That mostly occurred under Reagan. And we thought shipbuilding was a priority. And shipbuilding, not so much these days in terms of a priority. Like I said, what I'm going to be talking about, I have more happy stories to look up. They're all up here. You can't see them, but I can. And that's what counts because I'm running the show. We're going to do happy stories. We're going to stand by for news. We're going to talk about the Republicans they must sack up for 2026. And then we're going to talk about, if I get there, we're going to be talking about Islam and Somalia in America, Minnesota, DC, in the States, and the infiltration that's going on with that. But like I say, up front, we're going to talk about the happy stories. This is, I'm sorry. No, I'm not sorry. This is a great, great story. Milwaukee judge Hannah Dugan is guilty of felony obstruction in a split verdict. She was found guilty for a felony for obstructing federal agents during an immigration arrest. Now, if you hearken back to that, she covered for one of her little immigrant butt boys, and ICE went someplace, and she directed an illegal immigrant another way, and the jury found that they found her not guilty on a lesser misdemeanor charge of concealing a wanted person, but the charge for which she received the felony was intentionally helping a defendant evade ICE agents while the defense claimed she was following courthouse guidance. It was a lie. It was all a lie. That's because that's essentially all Democrats know how to do. Continuing on, and I said this is true. There was a warning behind this from, Jonathan Turley and John Solomon. Both said, yeah, this is going to happen. And as my law professor said, you'll see this material again. This is a happy story because these two are going to see this material again. The Justice Department is going to appeal the dismissal of Comey and the James indictments. The reason this can be revisited is because the judge kicked the case out, not essentially with impunity, but kicked it out in terms of, and there's a phrase that I cannot think of at this point. It'll come back to me probably another hour into the show or so. But NCX Group, also here. Thank you very much for being here tonight. Kicked it out, not without prejudice. If a case is kicked out by a judge with prejudice, that means that it cannot be revisited. The judge, whose name escapes me, and it's immaterial because it's a judge, did not kick this case out. It's a matter of process. And therefore, this case can be revisited because it wasn't ruled against with prejudice. It was specifically without prejudice. So those people, Letitia James, Jimmy the Leak Comey, will be seeing that information back again, and DOJ is going to be appealing, as well they should. If there were ever a law enforcement officer who's a damn moron, a DEI hire, an idiot, it would have to be DC's chief, Pamela Smith. And she literally did have, let's listen, she literally did have a meltdown because she's leaving. And after you hear this, you'll understand why.
Never would I compromise my integrity. Never would I compromise 28 years in law enforcement for a few folk who couldn't stand to be held accountable. And if I had to do it all over again, I'd do it again. So I'm going to the Bible when I say this to my...
Only a moron, an uncivilized moron, acts like this piece of shit. I'm sorry, like this black female DEI appointment piece of shit appointed by Muriel Bowser, because she wanted this bint to do exactly what Muriel Bowser said. Jump, little doggy, jump. And she jumped.
F you. The same folks who said in that report that they changed their numbers, and I did not. The report is very clear. I did.
Okay, stop. I don't know about you, but I'm tired of listening to the lies from leftists, from DEI hires, from all the other people that fall into that same role. Let's go back and let's hear some truth about what's going on with her.
Led House Oversight Committee now releasing a report accusing the outgoing D.C. police chief of manipulating data to artificially lower crime statistics. Bill Malusian looking at the numbers. He's live on the Hill with this. Bill, what you find out?
Bill, good morning to you. Those House Oversight Committee Republicans say the bottom line of what their investigation found is that the outgoing D.C. police chief was essentially cooking the books on crime data and trying to make the city seem a whole lot safer than it really was. Now, those House Republicans say what their investigation consisted of was interviewing all 7 commanders of D.C. Metro Police's patrol districts.
Listen to this. They interviewed the commanders, not the chief, the commanders.
Including a former commander who's currently suspended for allegedly tampering with crime stats in his own district. And
oh, by the way, another person sued the DC police, DC Metro Police, saying that they were in fact fudging the numbers. And that person who sued, she won her suit for an unspecified amount of money. And the sub rosa text of that is, we want change to make sure that you're not, in fact, cooking the books anymore. But this ridiculous excuse, I mean, I'm looking at that badge right there, and I can't, it's doing everything that I can to not want to rip that badge off of her shirt. She is undeserving of being affiliated in any way with my beloved law enforcement.
These are some of the conclusions they've made in their report. They allege that D.C. Metro Police Chief Pamela Smith pressured commanders to report lower crime stats by any means necessary.
Where have we heard that before? By any means necessary, Antifa.
The commanders testified that Chief Smith even pushed them to pursue lesser charges that aren't publicly reported, even for serious crimes.
Because that makes her look better, right? That makes her look more effective, more efficient.
And she required certain crimes to be reviewed by her office. Now, the report also says,
in other words, run this stuff through me before I say whether or not the information can be revealed.
Police commanders testified that Chief Smith punished them and retaliated against them if they tried to report accurate rising crime data, even berating them in meetings and individually to pressure them into reporting those lower crime figures. Now, in a statement on the report, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer says in part, quote, Chief Pamela Smith coerced staff to report artificially low crime data and cultivated a culture of fear to achieve her agenda.
This piece of crap deserves to not be affiliated with law enforcement ever again and besmirch my beloved Corps. She should, I don't know, she should pull the handle in a Starbucks that, you know, sounds like a marmot garfing. That's what she deserves to do. Not to be associated with law enforcement. Not anyway, not know how. This is also a happy story. Trump broke Newsom. California, Califailure, always spell it with a K, was making the rest of the nation dance to automotive standards, as in, well, they're our standards. So if you want to sell an automobile in California, you're going to have to make your cars to our standards. And Trump has said, nope. And especially on EVs, electric vehicles, the president blew it up. It all got blued up about EVs. And by the way, hey, if EVs were so great, folks, why is it that now California, or Califailure, always spelled it with a K, is being punitive on electric vehicles? Because now they lost huge taxes at the pump. And California's gas taxes are the worst. But they lost gas taxes because they were also not getting the taxes from the fuel itself. So then Califailure has decided that, okay, here's what we're going to do once we figure out technologically how we're going to attack this. And they're going to monitor each and every car, including EVs, and you will be taxed by the mile. If you thought that you were going to escape taxes or regulations by purchasing, I'm so green, I'm the greenest of greens, I've gone out and done my duty. You, my friends, are going to get hosed because you're going to get taxed by the mile. Also, people feel two ways about this. I'll express mine, you express yours. Trump administration, this just came out today, is going to start seizing the pay of defaulted student loan borrowers in January. Well, you know how we got here? Because the government under Obama said, hey, we'll help you students, come to us for the loans, your government, and then we'll make sure that we cover your loans with my money, your hard-earned taxpayer dollars, that the kids, because they chose poorly and they chose crap majors, when they finally got their little sheepskin in intersectional, sheep and marmot clitty licking, they discovered that, oh, I have $100,000 in debt. I have $200,000 in debt for a piece of paper that does me nothing and doesn't advance me in terms of jobs. But that's okay. I can default on my loan because Biden said, 46 said, yeah, that's great. You can do that. Folks, consequences. Hashtag consequences. Oh, you can't say that, BC. Those poor little kids, they're so young. They shouldn't be, they shouldn't face consequences for their decisions. Well, they're over 18, are they not? They signed a contract on the dotted line. And now they're going to have to pay the piper in some fashion. You know what this is called? This is called adulting. This is what happens when you're an adult. This is what happens when you and me and everyone else, when we've made a stupid decision, we've had to pay. And our credit rating may have been hit, or our association with various things in life may be affected. OFW, that's called consequences. And those are things that learned early will keep you safe predominantly for the rest of your life. Here's another happy story. Now, for all of you people who have DJI drones, because you think, oh, they're the best, what a lot of people didn't know is DJI drones are made by the communist Chinese in China. And the relatively newer drones send information back to communist China. And when you turn on your camera, let's see, I wonder, do you think the Chinese are looking at all the properties through which all of its DJI drones overflow American property? And the answer is, well, yeah. This is a happy story. The FCC bans foreign-made drones over national security and spying concerns. It's the communist Chinese. You may not have thought that you were flying a Chinese drone, but you was, and you is, and perhaps not no mo. Oh, DJI drones are the best. Not really. Or there's going to have to be a competitor. Here's another happy story. You know what? Let's look at it this way. CENTCOM launches Operation Hawkeye strike against ISIS in Syria. This goes to the FAFO mode. And as far as I'm concerned, you want to fuck around with the United States of America under Trump, you're going to find out. And all those little fast boats and whatnot. Oh, and I believe, if I'm not mistaken, one of those little boats, again, it got blowed up. It got blowed up real good. I think that's wonderful. That's a great thing. Here's another story. Now, this comes out of my neck of the woods in Idaho. I live in North Idaho. This occurred down in South Idaho. I would love to get this boy on the show. This is the owner of a bar. And let me just, what's this guy's name? The guy, Marque Fitzpatrick. That's the guy's name. And he's offering $10,000. He owns a bar down in a bedroom community outside of Boise. And he's offering $10,000 for information leading to the arrest and conviction of Boise leftist mayor Lauren McLean. And I think that's a great thing. I'll share the story in just a moment. But the truth is, it's not, they're calling it, of course, in the media, they're calling it a bounty, which it isn't. Except this is no bounty. This is nothing. This is what this is Oppo research, which is conducted against politicians of all ilk, stripes, and favors all across the boneyard. This is nothing more than Oppo research conducted in public, which is done with every political campaign every day against every political opponent on both sides of the aisle. Okay, do you remember, for example, this was okay. The Hillary Clinton campaign and the DNC paid over $1 million through a law firm for the research that resulted in the Christopher Steele P dossier against Trump. It was all lies, of course, but it was really well funded. But that's okay. Idaho bar owner puts cash bounty out for dirt on progressive Boise mayor. No. See, and from the very get-go, again, you understand how twisted the American media maggots are. And I don't believe they will ever stop. But they too are paying a price for this. And those prices include the removal of any number of people from their newsrooms, from shutting down newsrooms, from making their papers. I'm sure you've noticed this. Remember when newspapers were actually the size of something that when you opened it up, it damn near covered a table? Right now, newspapers are much, much smaller. The reason for that is newsprint. That's a cost. And so they're bleeding advertisers, they're hemorrhaging readers and eyeballs, and the reason for that is of their own doing. And this article, Bounty, is simply illustrative of the same damn thing. You can't trust them. And like I've said for quite some time, when I want to find out what's going on, what I will do with a fair amount of regularity is to go across the pond and look at British media. What? But if you want, British media will sometimes cover American incidents and issues with a depth and a detail that the American media maggots hold at arm's length. Nope, not going to cover that crap. Not going to have anything to do with that. Wouldn't be prudent. Here's also a happy story. If Republicans lose in 2026, NGOs, which exist only to scrub, launder, and bury Democrat and leftist money, Marco Rubio has said he's ending it. He is ending the NGO foreign aid industrial complex to include, and thank God, all these stupid, ridiculous pieces of religious shit that love illegals and want to destroy this nation. And I don't mind saying it because it's the truth, which is why you listen to me. Marco.
Of our foreign policy, and it should be used
Polo.
for the purpose of furthering the national interest. That doesn't mean we don't care about human rights. That doesn't mean we don't care about starvation. That doesn't mean we don't care about hunger. That doesn't mean we don't care about humanitarian need. What it does mean, however, is that even foreign aid, which is not charity, it is an act of the U.S. taxpayer. Now, American charities are free to give their money to whoever they want, as long as it's not a sanctioned entity. But the United States and the taxpayer money should be spent in furtherance of our foreign policy, should be spent in places and on things that further our foreign policy. And even that is not unlimited. We have a limited amount of money that we can dedicate to foreign aid and humanitarian assistance. And that has to be applied in a way that furthers our national interests.
And if it's not furthering U.S., our interests, then it should surely go to hell. And if you would, please, don't call me Shirley.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Listen in to the Reaver of Common Sense, where we cut through the noise of news and politics with a show equipped for bombast. Tune in Mondays and Fridays at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central, and 6 p.m. Pacific, featuring a refreshing dose of reality. Jersey Joe fearlessly tackles the tough topics with no nonsense. Just pure common sense. Visit shrmedia.com, where you can hear the Reaver of Common Sense in action. He may not always be polite. He may not always be refined. But one thing's for sure. He always tells it like it is.
Are you looking for a way to boldly express your faith and love for your country? Then check out Seven Armors, the premier apparel company for patriotic men of God, where faith meets freedom in style. Our t-shirts are more than just clothing, they're statements. Bold, stylish, and meaningful. From timeless messages to modern designs, we've got something for every patriotic man of God. Wear your beliefs proudly with Seven Armors gear. Don't miss the chance to wear your faith and freedom on your sleeve. Visit 7armors.com today and join the movement. That's the number 7armors.com. 7armors.com. Faithful, vigilant, steadfast, passionate.
Are you looking for bold and honest conversation about the issues shaping America? Well, let me welcome you to Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen, where we take you beyond the headlines. We dive into politics and culture, struggles of everyday life. It's raw, real, and unfiltered. If you're ready for truth with a punch, pull up a chair and join us. That's right, Unleashed 101, where real talk feels like home. Find us at unleashed101.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and more. We look forward to seeing you. Unleashed 101 with Jeremy Hansen.
Freedom. One nation in all of human history was built on that bedrock. Ours. A republic of the people, by the people, and for the people. Self-government requires freedom, just as freedom requires an individual willingness to self-govern. Freedom has made America exceptional. but it can only last as long as you and I seek the good, as expressed by the laws of nature and nature's God. It can only last if you and I choose to act as people of character. Forging character has been the pursuit of Hillsdale College since 1844.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I'm back. I'm BZ. This is the second hour of the show. It's 9:05 Pacific. It's 11:05 Central. It's midnight 05 on the East Coast. 1749.723, page 60, drawer 2 in Bolivian time. But what the hell? I could never understand Bolivian time. Who could? Who would? Thanks for being here tonight. As you can see, I'm wearing a different cap tonight. This is going to be the new Santa cap when it's Christmas time in the BZ neighborhood. By the way, the people that created this tiara, if you would, look and see what BZ Santa is this year. Naughty. No, it doesn't mean that. Come on. That's just shorthand for nautical. I'm just being nautical. Okay. Let's continue with the happy stories if we would. Here's something weird. You know, have you ever conjured or thought about what happens when fuel costs go down? And that is this: everything transported by locomotives and trucks, those prices go down, which means prices tend to go down on everything. Right? Here we go. Up. Turn this on.
Cheaper prices. With the prices what they are right now, I could probably save roughly about $60 a week. That's an extra $60. I got 9 children, so $60 go a long way.
No kidding, dude. But the thing of it is, and I have to use Idaho as an example. I'll put this up. About a month ago, it was $2.73. And then earlier, well, let's see, right around Saturday, it was $2.69. Then it went down to $2.57. That was yesterday, $2.57. Now, today, it's $2.49. It's like, oh, darn, shucky darn. That darn Trump lowering gas prices, helping people out all across the fruited plain. That guy is absolutely evil. Here's another happy story. And I almost can guarantee that you have not heard of this. The 2026 NDAA details domestic election security through voting systems testing. And so what the Trump 47 administration, probably 45 as well, have been trying to determine, and if I can get into this, if I have enough time, we'll talk about Georgia. Because you knew that sooner or later we got to talk about Georgia, though the American media maggots predominantly don't. But Section 6805 of the NDAA, Domestic Election Security, this says it requires penetration testing as part of the testing and certification of voting systems. What that means, I speak leftist, so I'll interpret that. What that means is they're going to lawfully find out the integrity and be able to question and discover the so-called integrity of digital voting machines. This is a great thing because truth, yes, potentiality of these systems getting hacked. Oh, but it's only, by the Russians, by the Chinese, no, by the insiders, by leftists and Democrats. And this is a way to make sure that we can go ahead and do it. But people, that big, beautiful bill, guess what? This was one of the aspects that was in that big, beautiful bill. And ain't that a great thing as far as I'm concerned? That's obviously a big, great thing.
I believe that this nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out.
We're going to talk about now some news stories that I bet you have not heard about. One of the first is going to be addressed by Mike Benz.
I'm pleased to tell you today that I signed
And talking about the relationship between the CIA and the man of the hour, the dead man of the hour, and a couple of other stories following that I'm guessing you probably haven't heard. And if I can get to it, some stories about the truth about Obamacare. But wait, what?
Stand by for news.
Here's the news. Now, this is pretty much just like super wacky. You wonder, how in the hell does this shit happen? Now, people were talking about it, and they were saying, I wonder about the relationship between Jeffrey Epstein and the CIA. And did he have anything to do with what's called Southern Air? This is Mike Benz. Mike, talk about it.
Jeffrey Epstein negotiated the fucking contract to move the CIA's proprietary airliner, Southern Air Transport, which was busted running drugs and guns during Iran-Contra. He personally was the authorized signatory on the deal with Southern Air Transport to move it to a military base in Columbus, Ohio, to service the limited. Hey, any of you guys got any bright ideas about how you would go about in 1994 convincing the Central Intelligence Agency to move its proprietary CIA airline used for covert operations based in Miami?
Wait. BZ raises his hands. I have an idea. Welcome to Sean Lewis. Thank you for being in chat. Anyway, BZ has an idea. Mike, are you thinking the same thing?
Fucking up and move its entire operation to fucking Columbus, Ohio, just to service your personal company instead of the CIA? What do you think, he cold called the CIA? You think he just schmoozed the CIA? Or is it because he was handling out on Khashoggi's money during Iran-Contra that purchased the guns that Southern Air Transport a decade earlier was moving?
And on top of that, was dragging all sorts of people into, I hope you're sitting down, like a honey trap. Has anybody heard of a honey trap? Has anybody heard of a man named Lindsey Graham? Has anybody ever wondered about Lindsey Graham? Has anybody ever wondered about Lindsey Graham and money from the Ukraine war? You know, the war he loves. And perhaps even since I started Mike Benz with the CIA, is there a relationship there?
And let me say something about Senator Graham. There will be news coming out in the next couple of months about how he has profited financially off of money that came out of Ukraine, laundered through Latvia, and made its way into his bank account. And then we're talking significant amounts of money. Department of Justice is looking at it.
All right, those are serious allegations leveled by CIA officer, former CIA officer Larry Johnson. We shall see.
We shall see. But does that answer a question that you may have had, you may have possessed at one point, as to why is Lindsey Graham such a darn warmonger? Why is he a war hawk? Why is there that he's never met a conflict or a war anywhere that he didn't absolutely love? And I think the answers are starting to emerge now. Lots of answers are starting to emerge, even from that once shielded state called California. Go.
If you thought that Minnesota Governor Tim Walz had a real bad problem with welfare fraud in his state, Gavin Newsom saying, hold my beer, buddy. Newsom's welfare fraud is exponentially worse than Tim Walz's, but the liberal media nationally, they're not paying attention. They're not holding him accountable. There's almost no discussion of it. Newsom allowed $30 billion in fraudulent welfare payments to be issued by the unemployment agency, and now small businesses in California have to pay off all of that debt through higher payroll taxes.
Okay, so stop. What are we talking about? Mikhail, stop. What are we talking about? We're talking about 18. It has emerged that we're talking about $18 billion with a B in Minnesota of fraud and corruption by Somalis, aided and abetted by Tampon Tim Walz and the rest of the government Democrats in Minnesota. $18 billion. Now, Newsom is making Walz look like a piker. Dude, here's how to do it straight and right.
No coverage of that scandal. And it is much worse than what happened with Tim Walz in Minnesota. Walz is accused of allowing $250 million of food stamp fraud to occur to Somali organizations. And Newsom is sitting here with multi-billion dollars worth of food stamp fraud.
Yeah, hold that, Heineken.
His food stamp fraud rate is 13.4%. That's 3 out of every 20 benefits managed by Newsom's administration for food stamps, completely fraudulent. And when it comes to funding left-wing organizations like the Somali community in Minnesota, California is funding all sorts of left-wing NGOs. And a lot of those NGOs are using taxpayer money for politics. The liberal media isn't covering any of this.
Stop. It's all taxpayer money. Government doesn't produce money except when it prints it. Hey, kids, that's how you get inflation. Just saying, hashtag. But, I mean, if you're going to do it big, do it big, do it big, like Newsom. The fraud, it's the fraud that never stops. It's like the torture in the dungeons that never stop. It's like we were talking about the CIA, and we're talking about the intelligence agencies and the fraud and their corruption that never stops.
I work in the intelligence community. I work in the CIA. I do cyber operations. I've been doing it for a long time.
So how long have you been working at the CIA?
Since 2008.
Okay, so what's happening in this, and you can watch the whole thing. It's 27 minutes on your own time. But here's a guy that's a project manager in cyber operations in the CIA, been there since 2008. Your 17 intel agencies lied to you, are working against you, and have been working against you clearly for multiple decades. So this guy, then National Security Advisor John Bolton's chief of staff, a guy named Fred Fleitz, says that John Durham, Bolton, Pompeo, CIA Director Gina Haspel deliberately withheld and buried evidence, including Barack Obama's manufactured ICA report, not only in the waning days of Obama's admin, but also during his presidency from the sitting president of the United States. And it goes on.
I work in the intelligence community. I work in the CIA. I do cyber operations. I've been doing it for a long time.
So how long have you been working at the CIA?
So he says this laughingly over the beer, while they and others, including Barack Hussein Obama, Democrats, leftists, globalists, have been screwing you for multiple decades, certainly since 2008, way before 2008. And if you don't listen to shows like mine, like Sean Lewis's, like Mission Ready Men's show, like Earl Jackson, Jersey Joe, if you don't listen to our shows, you miss very important stuff like this. You also, and see this in a normal world now, in a world Don LaFontaine. Oh God, I would have killed for Don LaFontaine's voice. Because remember all the movie trailers where Don LaFontaine would start, I can't even begin to, in a world. Yeah, it's as low as it goes. Give me Jeremy Hansen. I'm telling you, Jeremy. I'm telling you to your face right now. If you cack before me, I'm coming for your voice box. Hashtag just saying, mister. But you come here for things that you don't see or hear about other places, and that people like us have the temerity and the wherewithal to let you know about. Because there was a time not long ago where if I'd made this presentation, I would have been considered a racist. But this is where BZ's reversal theory comes into play. So this is a racial hate crime. A black man against a white woman who happens to be 75 years old, plain and simple. So this woman, a suspect, broke her right eye, broke her nose and cheekbone, and the community in Seattle is rallying around her, donating thousands of dollars. But what do you think the likelihood is of the Seattle Police Department quantifying this and their DA prosecuting this as a hate crime? Well, like I say, do the reversal. What if you had a 75-year-old black woman assaulted by a white guy? Do you possibly think that in less than 2.35 seconds, there wouldn't be a massive prosecution against the white guy for striking and injuring seriously and putting out the eye of a 75-year-old black woman? And the answer is, well, hell yes, there would be. Now, go look this up. I don't have the picture of the suspect. I guess you'll just have to trust me on this one. But the reversal theory stands. And that's how I use my spidey senses to determine whether something is a racist piece of crap or whether the people holding it back are racist pieces of crap. Now, have you seen how I've tried to do the flow and the linkage of various stories tonight? You know, I transfer smoothly and swimmingly between one story and another story. And we just talked about Seattle. And maybe we'll be talking about Seattle again. How about this in terms of prosecuting, not prosecuting? Oh, gee, BC, what are you talking about?
An illegal immigrant truck driver accused of causing a deadly crash on a Washington state highway has been released, with federal officials saying local authorities ignored an ICE order to keep him in custody.
Okay, so he gets involved in an accident. Okay, a serious accident. He's an illegal invader truck driver. There's the accident. He gets released. They don't call ICE.
William Ageness has more from Los Angeles.
And yes, there is more.
Hi, William.
Hey, Mike, you're right. Despite that ICE detainer, not only did Seattle's King County release him, it never even presented a case against 25-year-old Kamalpreet Singh, an Indian national who illegally crossed the border in 2023.
Stop. Do you see what happened? This guy causes an accident. People are injured. He's an illegal invader, illegally driving a large 18-wheeled, 80,000-pound commercial vehicle. He's in the country illegally. And then after the arrest, he goes into carcel, and then ICE is intentionally not called because he's an illegal invader. And then the King County DA decides, well, not only are we going to let him go, he gets released on bond because I'm sure he'll show up, right? Show up for what? The King County DA didn't file a case, didn't prosecute. And this is standard Mark 1, Model 1 in action. all across leftist urban lurks, leftist urban rat cages, all across the United States. And this is again another story where, you're the taxpayer, you're the citizen, you're the actual American, and you have no say. And Seattle and King County clearly have no interest in enforcing the laws. Oh, they'll enforce laws against you if you're an actual American. Enforcing laws against illegal invaders, nein, verboten. And people like that, and that obscene chick from Chicago, from D.C., just another Stasi member who got pissed and incensed that her scam, her gig, her grift was discovered, and the lies so deep. This is, I find, interesting, and I'm putting it up here because I haven't quite sussed the difference out of this. I don't have a ready answer. Yes, I am naughty, as you can see up here. Once I slipped a 5 into a stripper in Sacramento, in North Sacramento, and I had this made in her honor because she was one of my favorite strippers. Her name was Naughty Pines. Another one that I would go to with folded currency is Glossy Coat, two of my favorites. But what is it that's going on here? Here's about a minute where the liberal leftist 3 jurists on the Supreme Court recused themselves from a case on the docket involving the 2020 election. Okay, well, let's put this up. Maybe you can explain this to me, Lucy.
Yesterday, in a rare move within the U.S. Supreme Court, 3 justices recused themselves from a case related to the 2020 presidential election. Specifically, all 3 of the liberal justices on the court, Alina Kagan, Sonia Sotomayor, as well as Ketanji Brown Jackson, all 3 of them recused themselves from a lawsuit that's currently on the Supreme Court docket. Although this whole thing requires a bit of backstory. All the way back in the year 2021, a man from Utah named Roland Bronson filed a massive lawsuit against hundreds of members of Congress.
Have you heard that name before? I have. Brunson, go.
His central claim was that they violated their oath of office by not investigating allegations of election fraud prior to certifying the election winner. The list of respondents in the case was rather long. In fact, it was 388 names long. However, because Congresswoman Alma Adams from North Carolina appeared alphabetically first, the case was given the title Brunson versus Adams. Now, obviously, this is a rather unorthodox type of lawsuit where Mr.
But don't you wonder? Why? Why are they recusing themselves? And for what reason? Now, the Brunson case, I don't know how that went, to be honest. But anyway, that I just thought I'd throw that into the mix of things that make you want to say, how is that gonna? How will that plot along? And I got about 2 minutes before the bottom of the hour break. I don't know how, going to get to the Georgia election issue, so to speak. But to remind everybody, tonight's show is about Merry Christmas. And we know why we're here. We know why we celebrate Christmas. Those of us who are honoring our Lord and Savior and the birth of his Son. And yet, on a day like today, still, the fight marches on. Because the fight doesn't stop. It's Christmas. We know what we need to do. We know how we're going to handle this individually and collectively, within ourselves or within our families. And yet the thing that I want to emphasize is now and continuing through the end of the year and then up to 2026, the torture and the fight never stops. The torture and the fight will never stop. And yeah, I like to emphasize tonight specifically the happy stories that are up front. But there's much more to come. And we cannot at any time, at any point, allow ourselves to be distracted from anything. Honor the Lord, honor Jesus, honor Christmas. Don't stop the fight.
Conservative media done right. You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
Mission log. Intrigue. I mean, let's face it, who's even counting anymore? The Lost Wanderer is officially off course, chasing rogue rocket launches, fringe science, and things that probably violate causality. If it burns fuel, bends time, or makes scientists very uncomfortable, yeah, I'm probably going to talk about it. Every other Sunday on KLRN Radio, The Lost Wanderer, because space doesn't come with a roadmap, and honestly, I wouldn't follow if it did.
Hello, I'm Matt, a student at Hillsdale College. Here is Hillsdale President Larry Arnn on the continuing relevance of the Constitution.
Many argue today that the Constitution is outdated because it addresses problems peculiar to the 18th century. Some parts of the Constitution do read rather quaintly. Consider the injunction against titles of nobility in Article 1, Section 9 of the Constitution. But is that so outdated? The purpose of the injunction is to prevent the government granting special privileges to some for partisan reasons. This strikes at the heart of the rule of law. The crony capitalism so common today is a place where the government bestows favors and tax dollars on some businesses to give them a leg up over others. This is exactly the kind of thing the Constitution was meant to prohibit. The Constitution is not so outdated after all.
This Constitution Minute was brought to you by Hillsdale College. To join the national conversation on the Constitution, go to constitutionminute.com.
Hey fellas, are you mission ready? You need to check out Mission Ready Men via Earl Big E Jackson on Tuesdays and Thursdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and noon Eastern. It's a show that equips you to navigate our society's challenges from a biblical perspective with courage and conviction. Tune into Mission Ready Men as we examine our culture through the prism of biblical truths, teachings, and how to apply them in our daily lives. Prepare to step up, stand out, and step into your role as a man as ordained by God. That's Mission Ready Men, hosted by Earl Jackson on the SHR Media Network. And get mission ready.
Want to make an immediate difference in the life of a critically ill child? You have the ability to do that right now. Make a donation to Dream Makers for Life, the organization that restores dreams to seriously ill children and their families. You can sponsor a dream pack for a child, which contains a clear PVC backpack, a dry erase board adventure coloring book, a journal, and dry erase markers to inspire a critically ill child to envision a future adventure and hope. Want to become a dream maker for life yourself? Go to dreamforlife.org. That's dreamforlife.org. Help a child. Help a family. There is always hope.
You're listening to the SHR Media Network.
And I'm back. It's at the final half hour of the show. Thanks to everybody who have managed to persevere diligently through this. The show is going to be reshuffled and resizzled on, I hope, on KLRN tomorrow night, Wednesday night. I don't know. I'm saying thanks in advance to Rick Robinson. Anyway, and I see Boyd is in chat. Good for him. Good for that. People are giving me crap because I mentioned my strippers, my two favorite strippers, on a Christmas show. And I said, hey, listen, what am I? I didn't get served the TRO for the notice that I was on comedy probation on my Christmas show, that I couldn't attempt to insert comedy there. But see, that's who I am. Okay, I'm taking the SHR place of contrarian Clint. Clint, if you go back to the shows, Sean already knows this. Clint, just to screw with us, would calm down, stripper Santa. Clint would purposely, intentionally take a position contrary to whatever Sean and I were taking on the Sackheads radio show. Hashtag just because. I told you I wasn't sure if I was going to get to this. Calm down, stripper Santa. Shit, I'm still back to that. ELO, Jeff Lynn. And I can't get it out of my head. As Sean Lewis says, he was such a dick. Well, as a matter of fact, yeah, that is correct. And the bill's not for me. That's for Sean. I think that's only the second time I've done that tonight. Maybe only the first. Anyway, hey, did you ever wonder, now, Georgia, voting, ballots in Georgia, that's become a thing. And Cat Turd, I love it when leftists have to pronounce his name because he makes the news in some day. And I can see somebody like Jake Tapper having to be, and Cat Turd said today. Jesus. Anyway, Boyd asks, is he coming back? And Sean said, yet to be determined. Well, I am in negotiations with Clint. So far, his contract is about 30 pages long. And there are quite a number of stipulations in there. You know, we have to remove the brown M&Ms, for example, out of the chat room bowl. He will not tolerate that in the slightest. But I'm trying to see if upon retirement, because he'll still be in Califailure, Sackheads Clint, whether we can get him back. And the Phantom says, Cat Turd. You know, I don't know. Maybe I'm just so easily entertained because I'm grasping Ricky Robinson. I can eat those if it helps. Sure, it would help. Of course it would help. But going back to, I just love it when, you know, somebody on the left and MS, you know, multiple sclerosis now, some guest in there, you know, has to attribute something to Cat Turd. Oh, this is from Cat Turd. Okay. Hey, hiding voter data in Georgia. The suitcases full of ballots that came in the dead of night from, what was it, a broken water main or something like that?
This table, the black one, was placed there by the lady with the blonde braids at about 8:22 a.m. in the morning. So she put that table there. So the same person who's staying behind now, the same person who cleared the place out under the pretense that we're going to stop counting, is the person who put the table there at 8:22 in the morning. Yeah, I saw 4 suitcases come out from underneath the table. Yeah, upper right hand, you see the gentleman in the red. So he just pulled one out.
Hey, look, magic ballots. I found them. Finders keepers.
So what are these ballots doing there, separate from all the other ballots? And why are they only counting them whenever the place is cleared out with no witnesses?
But mostly, why are you even asking about this? We were excoriated, we conservatives, people with actual questions who want actual answers, Republicans, etc. When we even asked questions about this, oh no, you can't ask. There can be no asking of the ceremonial questions about anything having to do with Georgia elections. You know, now it falls into the category of everything that you thought was a conspiracy and you were ridiculed for a couple of years ago, because, you are wearing tinfoil, you ridiculous person on the right. Everything's been proven pretty much to be a hoax, wrong, not a conspiracy theory, but in fact, conspiracy reality. Okay, so what happened then recently is the Fulton County, Georgia Board of Elections attorney admitted that, 3 votes, maybe 10 votes, 30 votes, okay, 100 votes, 150 votes. No, 315,000 early votes were illegally certified during the 2020 election. And you can see the quote below in the white, Fulton County. We don't dispute 315,000 votes lacking poll workers' signatures. Well, they were counted. They were included in the 2020 election. But hey, that's okay, right? You conspiracy theorist.
I've not seen the tapes myself, but we do not dispute that the tapes were not signed. It was a violation of the rule. Since 2020, again, we have new leadership and a new building and a new board and new standard operating procedures. And
mea culpa, mea culpa, mea mega culpa.
Since then, the training has been enhanced. The poll watchers are trained specifically. They've got to sign.
Now, the guy down below the chick that's speaking right now, Earl Jackson on his show earlier said this guy had an even more lancing commentary about the 315,000 votes that were magically counted by magic fingers in the Fulton County election. I tried looking for that. I didn't know the guy's name, but perhaps we'll be able to discover who he is a little bit later. But apparently he had a quite insightful commentary about this.
Tapes in the morning, and they've got to sign the tapes when they're run at the end of the day. When the tapes come back to the hub for, with all the documentation, they are checked again. And if somebody forgot to sign a tape, then Fulton initiates an investigation. But we don't dispute the allegation.
We don't dispute the allegations. Again, I speak leftist, so I'll translate. You are a corrupt clot of lying motherfuckers. Other than that, I'm sure that everything is fine. Remember, nothing to see here. Move along. This isn't the election and voter fraud you're looking for. This is the way we've simply been conducting all our elections until somehow we were outed. We were discovered. Son of a gun. That's so sad. I wish we could continue our cheating. It makes us feel so much better inside. Also, well, that of course wasn't covered by the American media maggots. There's also this, which you may or may not have known. And I have 2 more stories about this coming up besides this one. And I think I'll have time for about maybe 1 or 2 more stories after that. The Government Accounting Office, this is from Yahoo News, confirms large-scale systemic fraud risk in expanded Obamacare subsidies. The enhanced Obamacare subsidies the Democrats want to extend are virtually unprotected against fraud, costing, and that's the point, costing taxpayers potentially billions of dollars a year, a bombshell report from the Government Accountability Office revealed. They found in 2023, you'll love this, as many as 58,000 dead people received payments. As much as $21 billion was spent on overpayments or payments to ineligible enrollees, and there were only 29,000 cases of the same Social Security number being used in multiple plans receiving subsidies. Lassie, what's that you smell? Government corruption? Well, yeah. And then this story, which is intriguing. This is back in 2014, but I have the internet, so I can find this crap. The American media maggots cannot themselves, which is okay. They never, even if they had access to it, they wouldn't find it. Anybody remember this? Probably not. This is from, of all places, the Atlantic. So I went in the Wayback, Mr. Peabody's Wayback Machine. This is from November 25th, 2014. Over 10 years ago. No problem. Chuck Schumer said passing Obamacare in 2010 was a mistake. The Senate's number 3 Democrat says that his party misused its mandate. Again, more breastfeeding, more mea culpa. I don't see that it's doing much good right here. 2 more stories on that order, if you will. Again, from John Solomon's Just the News, one of the few sites that I consistently place trust within. Obamacare's inconvenient truths were exposed during the shutdown. Stop. We're going to have a problem with Republicans. I may or may not have enough time to go over that. I'm considering whether or not I want to go into overtime. Maybe yes, maybe no. But I want to get these 2 stories out there. And this relates to the fact that I fervently believe in January, yes, the Democrats are going to go for another government shutdown. Because they're going to figure out that, it's going to be even more difficult to push back against them shutting down the government in January, because this temp crap just keeps running out and nobody can agree on nothing. Nuffin. Nothing. So, from Just the News, Obamacare's inconvenient truths exposed during the shutdown. Experts said, when Obama said, if you like your healthcare plan, you can keep your healthcare plan. No, you couldn't. Obamacare made a lot of those health plans illegal. Other infirmities of the ACA have been laid out, including nebulous allegations of fraud. So, after years of Democrats telling the American people that former President Barack Hussein Obama's ACA was a thriving system, the glaring truth, in fact, revealed now during the government shutdown is that, well, not only has the ACA resulted in widespread fraud and allegations of kickbacks to insurance companies, Democrats' bestest friends. The American people are footing the bill for subsidies to hide the fact that Obamacare is broken. It is bigly broken. But let's not stop there, because I have another article. This is also from Just the News. And it also goes over the Obamacare secret at the heart of the shutdown. Insurers during the shutdown raked in billions of dollars at taxpayer expense, because everything is at taxpayer expense. Because you're the taxpayer. I'm the taxpayer. We're the taxpayer. Government produces nothing except it has wants and needs and desires, and you will pay. The 42-day federal shutdown forced by Democrats thrust the economics of Obamacare into the limelight and exposed an uncomfortable truth. An insurance industry whose executives are increasingly liberal donors has seen its earnings soar with the injection of taxpayer-funded subsidies that propped up Obama's signature health program from collapse. I wonder if they knew it was going to collapse. I say yes. I wonder if they knew that it was going to have a sunset date. Well, yeah, of course. Those subsidies were greatly expanded by the Biden administration during the Wuhan 19 pandemic. Oh, it's an emergency measure. But Democrats, of course, I'm sorry, Democrats fought to keep them permanent because, as I've said any number of times, you know what has to happen? The spice must flow. The spice has to flow. I have 10 more minutes. I think I can get to a good portion of this. Now, depending upon the day, I can be of a positive nature or a negative nature with regard to the Republican Party in 2026. And I want to point out some things. And then if I have the time, there might be a couple of minutes of overtime because of this. I'm going to leave it on kind of, I guess, a positive view of this, a potentially positive view of this. But here's my good friend, Senator John Kennedy from Louisiana. If there's anybody that I love, well, two guys that I really think are pretty damn cool. Tim Burnett is way cool as far as I'm concerned. And John Kennedy, senator from Louisiana. When he speaks in his homey kind of style, the 10-foot lance with the barb, the metal barb at the end, which is coated with black mamba venom, that occasionally gets shoved up between the ribs of leftists and Democrats in his homey, folksy kind of style. Here he is with Will Cain.
Well, let me say first, I want to give credit to the president, to the Republicans in Congress, and to the Federal Reserve for getting inflation down. It wasn't that many years ago, Will, that we had 9% inflation. And that inflation didn't originate in a bat. That inflation was man-made, and that man's name is President Joe Biden. So we started at 9%. We've got it down to 3%. That's the good news. The bad news is that 3% inflation still means prices are going up. Now, what do we do about it? First, we acknowledge the problem.
In the meantime, Will Cain pops some gum into his mouth.
And it is a fact that when many moms and dads lie down to sleep at night and can't, one of the things they're worried about is cost of living. And you can say, well, you shouldn't be worried about it because things are better. Well, they're still worried about it. And my job is to address what people are worried about. What should we do about it? The president can't do everything, okay? Congress needs to do its part.
Thank you.
Without depending on a single Democratic vote, we can start passing bills tomorrow to reduce the cost.
Stop. Go back. This is what I want you to hear. If I can move it back. There we go.
And the cost of health care. We have over 200 tax changes that if we made, they would stimulate the economy and
Stop. I didn't go back far enough. I want you to hear what he said about what can be done.
Cost of housing. The legislation's ready to lessen the cost of health care. We have over 200 tax changes.
God dang it. I didn't go back far enough. Go.
Okay. Congress needs to do its part without depending on a single Democratic vote.
Without depending on a single Democratic vote, we can survive and thrive.
We can start passing bills tomorrow to reduce the cost of housing. The legislation's ready to lessen the cost of health care. We have over 200 tax changes that if we made, they would stimulate the economy and increase wages. We do it through what's called reconciliation. That's how we pass the One Big Beautiful Bill. And the One Big Beautiful Bill, by the way, is going to help once it kicks in this year.
So John Kennedy says, we have the ability, the present ability right now to do what needs to be done. So the obvious question is what, folks? You can tell me what's the obvious question that should be asked. I'll let you answer that. Now, let me go back to an article. I had to do this in kind of the Wayback Machine. Mr. Peabody helped. This is an article, June 26th, 6 months ago, this year. Republicans' 2026 midterm chances against Democrats surge in new poll. Okay. And, oh, here's my great guy. This is Tim Burchett. Tim, start talking, mister.
I'm always concerned, to be honest with you. I always say either unscared or unopposed. I've been to the district several times. I know Matt very well. He's an excellent candidate. And complacency within our party is a problem. 12% of the population goes out and votes. I mean, that's the problem with both parties. We have evangelical Christians, which I associate with, is in my beliefs. 45% of them don't go to the polls.
They're crappy voters. What he said is the GOP has a huge complacency. Well, you know, I guess somebody else is going to do it problem. 45% of evangelicals skip voting. 30%. This is incredible. 30% of those who love the Second Amendment, gun owners, stay home. We're letting schools produce Marxists on a daily basis. Truth.
30% of gun owners don't go to the polls. And our schools are mass producing Marxists in that belief system.
That's insane.
And, yeah, we got a real problem, and we better wake up. And Tennessee was, I think we drew the line in the sand. I think they woke up and they got to the polls.
But does that solve everything? Well, historically, Republicans, as I've said for decades now, have had a big problem with that. And here's Tim Burchett again, and what he's saying, and I think this is to, why can't I think of this guy's name? Benny something. Anyway, Benny Johnson? I think that's who this guy is. Anyway, Tim Burchett is saying you can't talk about the Republicans this way. The quiet part out loud, go.
You have a better connection with the American people and the MAGA base than I think possibly any member of Congress. How do Republicans keep the House? How do Republicans win in the midterm?
It's a structural problem, Benny. I think, yes, you know, can't speak for the Senate. I don't know Thune that well. I mean, he calls me by my name. I'm sure he's got a bouncer or a handler. So that's Tim Burchett right there. Say hello to him. Oh, hey, Tim. But I feel like a lot of folks are undermined. I think you've got staffers in key spots that are crooked. I think they're in bed literally or figuratively with lobbyists, and they kill very good pieces of legislation. That's why you see study committees or we're going to study this bill for a year and then it magically goes away. I think that's part of the design because they want to undermine Trump.
Stop right there. You and I both know that a great deal of what's going on is simply, against Trump. Don't like him, going to be against him. This is the Republicans' biggest problem. Number one, getting out the vote, duh. Because as, how many times have you heard me say, my civics teacher back in the 60s, Mr. Helms, said, a truism now and a truism in the future and in the past is and was, Democrats don't win elections. Republicans lose them. Most elections are there for Republicans to win if they could just coalesce and get out the vote. This is no shock. It's the constant problem. The biggest question, why? Why can't we do that? We can't round up and circle the wagons like the Democrats. Why not? Because there are too many people, especially rhinos now, who are interested in doing nothing but pissing in the flintlock, in the powder bowl of the Republicans' flintlock, in Trump's flintlock. Just because he's Trump. When he goes away and there are no people to rally around, then the GOP is going to have a really, really big problem. The economy now, this is what I said. There are some indicators. There are some indications. The economy can flip.
Listen, Leland, you can make a very reasonable, data-based, logic-based case for why the economy is already getting better, not better enough, but getting better, and will get materially better in the new year. But that doesn't work. That persuasion with folks doesn't work unless you're willing to first acknowledge the current pain and acknowledge the reality that regular Americans are still struggling because of cumulative inflation, what happened under Biden and what is so far still happening under Trump, whether his fault or not. Listen.
A mea culpa helps. And how is it that the Republicans haven't quite learned that yet? And I would look to Trump. Acknowledge the pain. Say, yeah, I grok your concept that you're going through tough times right now, particularly in Christmas. I'm telling you things are going to get better. I wanted to get elected behind, yeah, I can fix this shit. So fix it. Tell us what you're doing to fix it, how you're going to fix it, and then illustrate the indicators that you're seeing along the way. Help. Voters are saying nothing more than help us. You sabotage Trump and you sabotage any kind of chance or dream of keeping the House in 2026 or the Senate. You lose one or both, and every aspect changes. And even then, you got 2.5 more years of Trump potentially completely ineffective because the Democrats are going to clot the political arteries with impeachments and investigations and all the same bullshit that they pulled before. That's not going to change unless, for whatever reason, we can pull something out of the hat. I found this article. I found this interesting. This is from the Washington Times. And by the way, I just thought I'd let folks know it's 10 o'clock. I am, in fact, going into some overtime. I ain't done yet, because I'm going to finish addressing the issue with the Republicans. I found a way to get around paywalls. I'll tell you how someday. It's not that difficult. Here's an article from the Washington Times. And this was not that long ago, December 8th. So it's not in June. It's not in July. So the Washington Times asking, is the economy about to turn in Trump's favor? There are some flashes of light on the horizon, which may show some brightness in the future. And the thrust of the article is Democrats might be setting themselves up trying to own affordability, because that's what they're hammering right now. Nothing is affordable, nothing is affordable, nothing is affordable. So we know the issues. We know the problems. Let's continue, because let's go here first. Vance, this is interesting. Vance said this the other day. This is Trump moving, I guess you could call, the Overton window. And because of the infiltration by muzzies and illegal invaders, it's not too terribly long before the U.S. might have to consider, and I say it's going to happen with the UK first because they're nuclear armed. Trump and Vance, I think Vance said today or yesterday, we're going to have to look very closely and not askance anymore at who will be our allies in the future. And here's 2.5 minutes. I don't think I'm going to play it all, but you're going to get the gist of this.
He's really gotten right is the immigration, because he allows nobody in his country. And Poland has done a very good job in that respect too. But most European...
So he was talking about Orban in Hungary, because the two nations that are not suffering under illegal invaders and muzzies are Hungary and Poland. They're having New Year's festivals, Christmas festivals. They're letting their people out into the town squares. The rest of Europe, France, Germany have essentially said, we're not going to have these festivals anymore because we can't protect our people.
Nations, they're decaying. They're decaying.
You can imagine some leaders in Europe are a little freaked out by what your posture is, and European.
No, they should be freaked out by what they're doing to their countries. They're destroying their countries.
Well, European Council
and
President.
they're people I like. Look, they're people I like. I get along with them. You know that. But they can't let this happen. And it gets to a point where you can't really correct it. There'll be a point, and it's very close to that
and
point.
what will that mean?
It means, number one, demography is prophecy. It also means that, in my opinion, the UK is probably going to be the first to have our missile systems readjusted to their tiny little island, because the UK is not that terrifically far from being a nuclear-armed Muslim nation, another Iran.
Will mean that they're no longer going to be strong nations.
Does that mean they won't be allies
Or
anymore?
they'll be, well, it depends, it depends. They'll change their ideology, obviously, because the people coming in have a totally different ideology. But it's going to make them much weaker.
I can't say Trump is being glib or coy. He's not. He's hedging his bet a little bit, but I don't mind. I don't have to. I'm not a politician. I don't care about what people think or say about me. The UK is this far from becoming a muzzy nation. It is a nuclear-armed nation. That's like having a former ally now closer to the United States than Iran, with a whole host of nuclear ballistic weapons on land and in submarines, potentially reclicked. Hey, there's some for New York. There's some for Chicago. There's some for San Francisco and Los Angeles as well. OPZ, you can't possibly think that way. You better.
They'll be much weaker, and they'll be much different.
And what will that mean for our relationship
look at
with
your mayor
them?
of London. He's a disaster. He's a disaster. He's got a totally different ideology of what he's supposed to have. And he gets elected because so many people have come in. They vote for him now because, it's like, it's one of the...
Demography is prophecy. You know how this is going. I don't need to play anything more of this. And like I say, if you want to find out, all the articles and the videos are going to be on my Rumble channel. Go to Rumble, go to SHR Media Group, go to BZ's Berserk, Bobcat, Saloon, and you'll be able to see the show. And you'll see all the show links and the articles delineated down below. And you can watch these things at your own leisure. But this is going to happen at this rate. This is going to happen. Now, here's another story that I want to bring up. Democrats flipped another Republican-held office in Georgia. This is December 9th. And we saw this right in front of our faces. The Republicans have not consistently been doing well. And there was a time earlier this year when people were saying, and I can definitely remember folks saying, oh, we're on track to kick absolute ass in 2026. No, we're not. 20 Republicans voted with the Democrats to reverse Trump's executive order on federal unions, which was blocking most federal unions. Yeah, that's coalescing. That's circling the wagons. That's unity of purpose and unity of sight. Sure. That's it. And then, of course, this, I'm just going to show you the headline. From Politico, of course, consider the source. Trump's own voters are beginning to blame him for the affordability crisis. This was about 4 months ago. So this goes up and down. I'm just letting you folks see what people are saying, what's out there, and what kind of a fight is in the offing. Trump said, let me put this up on Truth Social. I'm on Truth Social. Republicans, this is December 13th. Republicans in the Indiana State Senate who voted against a majority in the U.S. House of Representatives should be ashamed of themselves. Headed by a guy named Ron Bray, every one of these people in Indiana should be primaried, and I'll be there to help because these people voted down redistricting. Republicans had the opportunity to do the exact same thing that Democrats have been doing for years, which Texas pulled off and which courts affirmed Texas doing so. But we're much better than Democrats. We want to be loved. So we're not going to do this, even though you can, and it's not illegal. So, here's his post, I guess you could say. And I have to completely agree with Trump. This is more limp-wristed, inveterate Republican, or I should say invertebrate Republican bullshit. This is war. It's not conciliatory patty cakes with heaps of, as I call, bipartisanship and compromise. By a vote of 31-19, what happened in Indiana is the addition of 2 more House seats for Republicans was killed ahead of the 2026 midterms. Every vote, every seat counts. Do you think Democrats would have done that themselves? The answer is no. And if they become a majority, here's what's going to happen. Guaranteed. They're going for 21 SCOTUS jurists. They're going to pack the court. They're going to create at least 5 new states. They're going to kill the filibuster. They're going to replace actual Americans with more turd worlders, and they're going to reopen the borders. You can absolutely be guaranteed that all of those things, probably and more that they've been cogitating over for the past year or so, those things are going to happen. That's exactly what's on their agenda. So now, however, Johnson says, I run hot and cold on this bastard. Yeah, unleash Jeremy Hansen in chat said, Missouri pulled it off as well. Yeah. And Jeremy said Argentina is going to be a great ally. Johnson said you're going to see an aggressive affordability agenda. And you're going to see that House Republicans are going to surge in January to codify up to 150 of President Trump's executive orders. Really, how do you figure? Well, he says,
very aggressive legislative agenda coming right out of the gates in January. We're going to continue to work, for example, on healthcare to continue to bring costs down for the American people, to bring down the cost of living overall. You're going to see an aggressive affordability agenda, and we're going to see continued codification of the president's executive orders. He's up to about 200 of those. Probably about 150 of them are codifiable by Congress, and we're working steadily through that list.
Stop. Is that just mouth music? Is that Speaker Johnson just going, bah, 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 bah? Do you believe him? I'm not sure. I wish I could be absolutely assured that that's going to happen. And then, of course, but wait, there's always more. House GOP tensions erupt as Republicans turn on each other heading into year's end. House GOP frustrations are simmering ahead of the multi-week holiday break. You know, the information is out there, and the American media maggots are going to be crowing about everything that is anti-Republican. Here's another feature that you're going to have to somehow craft into your future, Republicans. More than 10% of Congress isn't going to return after 2026. More than a tenth of the current Congress has now indicated they're not going to return. They don't have any intention of returning to their seats after the 26 midterms. And that's driven by redistricting and retirements and lawmakers running for different offices and a bunch of other stuff. Now, if you look here, here's the chart. And again, this article is going to be up on the Rumble side of the show tonight. And so as of December 20th, there are 55 representatives and senators who are retiring or running for a different office, 11 senators and 44 House members. And a lot of the people that are going away have said, you know, I'm tired of the fight. I'm tired of having to fly. I'm tired of my constituents fighting me. I'm tired and I'm unsettled about what's going to be happening and occurring ahead in the next year, in 2026. There are no assurances. And I can go and do something else. Now, see, the dealio is on this. These are the people who have either brushed their own doofers sufficiently so that their pockets are full of gold. The spice must flow. They've got theirs and they don't give a crap about anybody else. Or the other people that are leaving is they're the cadre of individuals who are not smart enough to go out and manufacture their own fraud and corruption. Or, I don't know, maybe they actually have a bit of morality. I don't want to make that leap. I don't want to be that certain because I am not. But by the time you get to DC, your corruption is like in the movie End of Watch with Jake Gyllenhaal. I think it's Jake Gyllenhaal and Michael Pena. Partners in an LAPD unit. And they come up against this gangbanger. And he says, by the way, why do they call you Big Evil? And he says, it's because my evil is big. And it's true for DC politicians. Why are you a corrupt piece of shit sloth? Because I'm a corrupt piece of shit sloth on the take, and the spice must flow. But on the other hand, there's this. And this could be the aspect that changes everything for the Republicans. And I've been leading you down this trail to this final story, and then I'm going to be leaving. Because this is the linchpin by which Republicans will succeed or abjectly fail. And it's this. This was just a day or two ago. December 23rd. Oh, okay. There we go. Yesterday, if you're on the East Coast. U.S. GDP grew at a blistering 4.3% pace in the third quarter. The savior of the Republican Party in 26, because this is what, the Democrats and leftists are punching down to make sure that this doesn't happen, because they cannot afford it to happen. What if in January there are more appointments made? What if in January, we know that they're going to block government again. They're going to stop it. That is in fact a fait accompli. We know that'll happen. I'm assured of it. I believe it to be. But what if between now and then and the midterms, the economy does turn around? Because It's been said for generations, it is the economy, stupid. And what if? What if that's the truth? Folks, I want to thank you for being here tonight. It means a lot to me that you'd spend your very precious time here with me on a rather late night show, where otherwise you could be, I don't know, cleaning your fish tank or brushing the doofers of your marmot named Bill, or actually hurling multiple Z's out of your personal oval mosh pit in your bed right now. So as we reflect on Christmas, what it truly means to us, comedy aside, I hope that tonight you've managed to discern the difference between those who mean us harm on most every level and our national and individual ability to supersede these problems and soldier on. Two notes I want to make before I go away. Maybe this will resonate with you. I can remember being a kid, maybe 6 or 7, and that's going to be back in, dare I say it, 1956, 1957. I can remember being a kid and looking at the Christmas tree we set up in the den at night. And the lights are all out in the den, but the Christmas lights are on. My parents are watching TV around the corner in the living room. And I can remember sitting there and just, back when I had that sense, I could smell that tree. Everybody had real trees those days, watching the lights and just enjoying it all. And there was a true sense of wonder. And I can remember that to this day. I so desperately would like to get back to that. So I guess the bottom line through the show tonight has been, yeah, we have problems. Yeah, we're in a bit of a jam. But I don't believe that these problems are insurmountable. They're nothing close to what I call a fait accompli. We have the power, and it's been proven within ourselves, to change things and to realize that at Christmas, it's time to give ourselves over to our Savior. Having trust, doing our best, honoring Jesus and God the best we can. And one final thing before I go away. It's pretty obvious, I hope, that I would not be here on Thursday night. I am, however, going to be back Tuesday night, next Tuesday night, 1 week from now, December 30th, as myself and as many of the SHR hosts as I can rustle together, along with KLRN's Rick Robinson, to discuss what we, I, they, you, me, considered to be the most important stories of 2025, and then maybe talk about what's to come in 2026. Is it a done deal that 2026 is dead? I don't think so. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, almost 2.5 hours. Thanks for listening to BZ's Berserk Bobcat Saloon radio show, live and direct, right here from the SHR Nof, Idaho studio. Merry Christmas to one and all. Again, my considered and consistent thanks to everyone, indicating that, of course, promotional consideration is by the Lockheed Martin Skunk Works, Shure and Electro Voice microphones, the Arrakis Corporation, the people that make my mixer, Pratt & Whitney dependable engines producing thrust you can trust. And also tiaras, this one, the naughty one, as you can see. My tiaras are, of course, by My Little Pony. No guest tonight, so thanks to my personal KC-135 Kettle One refueling team, with whom I may be consorting in less than about 10 minutes or so. I thank each and every one of you listening live in chat and on the Resizzle tomorrow night from KLRN. God bless, take care, be safe.
Everybody quiet down now, get some sleep.
Merry Christmas.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Ben. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Mama. Good night, Daddy.
Good night, children. Good night, Daddy. Good night, Elizabeth.
Good night, John Boy. Good night, Jim Bob. Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, Jim Bob.
What's going on? I was asleep. What's everybody doing?
Good night,
Good night, Jim Bob.
Good night, and good luck.